Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel. Today we are counting down the top 10 books that I finished in 2022. That's right, I finished my last one today and it made the cut, and that's why I had to wait until today to do this, because I had a very strong suspicion it would be making that list. So let's get right to it. There are two books on here that I don't physically have. So I'm starting off with one of those, and that is Sea of Rust by C. Robert Cargill. A fantastic imagining of a kind of a dystopian future where there are no humans anymore. It's robots. And our main protagonist is a robot who salvages scrap off of dying and diseased robots. Until one day when she gets blasted a bit and is in dire need of a part, and so ensues a adventure where she's got a limited amount of time before she completely deteriorates to get her hands on parts and get repaired. But there's a whole lot more going on. Fantastic read, recommended to me by Michael from Fit to Be Read, and just absolutely loved it to pieces. Very fast-paced, very easy read, and I strongly recommend it, even if you're not a science fiction fan. This is a book that you will probably enjoy. So number 9, we have one that was gifted to me by none other than Michael Cavan, and that is The Good Old Stuff by Gardner Dozois, edited by Gardner Dozois. So this is adventures in the science fiction in the grand tradition. This is action-paced, pulpy, in the best kind of way. Tons of adventure stories. I mean, there are some phenomenal stories in here. There are some really well-known names. And for what it was worth, like, this anthology as a whole collection was just outstanding. You've got Fritz Lieber, you got Roger Zelazny, James Tiptree Jr., A. Van Vogt, Elsbreg de Camp, Jack Vance, C.M. Kornbluth, Lee Brackett, Murray Leinster, Paul Anderson, Gordon Dickerson, Cordwainer Smith, Brian Aldiss, H. Beam Piper, Ursula K. Le Guin. Those are some big hitters. And the stories in here, 98% of them were just phenomenal hits. It made Michael's list earlier this year of his favorite reads, and I fully endorse this as, yes, this is a great one. I still need to get the good new stuff. Well, I need to finally put it on a wish list, right? So I remember when it comes time to be able to buy books, that's what I've been wanting to pick up for a while. Number 8 is the one I just finished moments ago, and that is Jarrell of Jory by C.L. Moore. This is another one that graced Michael's list, and my goodness, this is phenomenal. Jarrell of Jory is a very strong female protagonist, fantasy setting. She is a warrior, has no fear, yellow eyes, and she has some magnificent adventures. It's a collection of short stories in here. I think 5 or 6 short stories, and each one is just great. A lot of fun, very, very different. There's one that even has people from space coming and paying a visit. So, yeah, it's varied in its explorations, but there's one thing uniting them, is that it's just really phenomenal writing. Cannot recommend this highly enough. Number 7. We have probably the biggest surprise to me on this list. That's The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I danced around the Kingkiller Chronicles for so long because I expected it to be okay. You know, I obviously he hasn't finished it yet. I've got book 2 on my shelf. There's another, like, a little, almost a novella that takes place after book 2 that I don't have. But if book 2 is anything like this one, I'm in for a phenomenal read when I get to it. The storytelling is just great. It is the best of what an epic fantasy can offer. It's a chunker of a book, but it just flew right by. And it helped redeem for me one of 2 books this year that helped redeem for me what an epic fantasy can offer. Because I had encountered some of the worst of it with the Dragon Bone Chair by Tad Williams, and it left me exhausted by the just repetitive nature of the trope upon trope that's built its way into there across hundreds and hundreds of pages that don't need to be hundreds of pages. This one, I was happy it was as long as it was because I just couldn't get enough. So now we have number 6. I don't have the actual book, but I'm holding up a replacement. It's actually Ship of Destiny. I read Ship of Magic last year, as well as Mad Ship. Ship of Destiny is the 3rd book in the trilogy of the Live Ship Traders by Robin Hobb. And my goodness, I loved it. Robin Hobb is a master of her craft. I guess this is another epic fantasy that's helping redeem fantasy for me. Hobb is just magnificent, and I can't really talk much without giving spoilers, but I can say that there is a character that features prominently throughout the entire trilogy. A character that I despised in this book. Grew to be okay about in book 2. By the 3rd book, Ship of Destiny, I think she was my favorite character in the series. Genuinely. Favorite character in the series. Which surprises the crap out of me because I couldn't stand her in book 1. Hobb knows how to write characters and character arcs, and I can't wait to continue in the Realm of the Elderlings. I'm going to have to. I don't have any of the other Realm of the Elderlings books. But when I do, this is a series that I will be continuing and loving every minute of it because this trilogy, the Farseer trilogy, were phenomenal writings. If you have not read Robin Hobb yet, I strongly recommend. The pacing is slow, but it's rich in character growth and development, and some just she puts her characters through the paces. You feel bad for some of those characters. Book number 5 is another very recent finish. I finished it just this week, and that is Medieval Romances. Yes, you've got medieval right here. This has 8 medieval romances in there. Percival, which is by Chrétien de Troyes. Tristan and Isolde by Gottfried von Strasbourg. The Youth of Alexander the Great, Aucassin and Nicolette, which was the one that I liked the least out of here. Havelock the Dane, which was a phenomenal delight. I enjoyed it tremendously. Sir Orfeo, which I was familiar with because of Tolkien. Sir Gawain and the Green Knight is always a joy. It's always a joy to revisit it. And if you haven't caught it yet, Tony from An Erudite Adventure is reading out loud the entirety of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight spread across 4 parts, and you should definitely check it out. And then it ended with the Book of Balin out of Le Morte d'Arthur, which has the story of Balin and Balin, one of my favorite Arthurian stories, the Knight of Two Swords. And yeah, it has me itching to pick up more medieval romances. I've got more on my shelf. A great way to finish the year because apart from the necessity of, well, that's not what I was planning on reading next. Book 4 on the list. We have The Fall of Hyperion by Dan Simmons. Shocking, I know. Hyperion was my number 1 last year. The Fall of Hyperion is not quite as good as Hyperion to me. But it fixes one of the biggest gripes I had with Hyperion, in that it actually has chapters that are reasonably sized. But it also deviates a lot from the approach that was being taken in Hyperion, rightfully so. This is the second act, basically, of that book, and it does so in a very, very satisfying way. But I still absolutely love the original Hyperion. Another series that I'm very much looking forward to continuing in the next year and finishing. That is on my short list of ones that I absolutely have to get to, Endymion and Rise of Endymion. Because I just want to see how the Hyperion Cantos wraps up from here. And I wouldn't be surprised if both of those end up on my top 10 list of 2023. Because Dan Simmons has earned his money in the Bank of David. Now, number 3 is the other one I don't have. I can't hold it up for you. It's In the Shadow of Lightning by Brian McClellan, who's popular for the Powder Mage series. I think it's a trilogy or might be a quartet. And I really want to check out that Powder Mage series because The Shadow of Lightning, it just came out in 2022. I think over the summer. One of the very, very, very few things that I got this year through NetGalley. And my God, the writing is masterful. And the magic system that he comes up with, and the fact that magic is slowly dying, and that's becoming a problem because all of these civilizations are built around magic and magic users. Particularly, the main protagonist is a glass dancer or something like that, glass wielder. I don't remember the exact term, but his magic is done through glass, which, as you might suspect, it makes him really powerful because he can command glass. Little tiny shards can just decimate armies. He's a glass cannon, so to speak. And it's written so well. It's paced magnificently. It tells a really intriguing story, and I can't wait for the next book in that series to come out because I will be checking it out as soon as it does. It'll probably be a day one buy for me. Well, it would be if I'm off the 500 book challenge, it will be. So now we have our top two here. And once again, Robert E. Howard is appearing on this list. You could see some parallelism from last year's list. I had Dan Simmons towards the top. I had Robert E. Howard towards the top. And this time it's The Conquering Sword of Conan. It was not the only Robert E. Howard that I read this year, but this was the best. And there is one bright reason why in this one that this is on here. Okay, I grabbed the wrong one. It's not The Conquering Sword of Conan. It is The Bloody Crown of Conan. Sorry. I have not read The Conquering Sword yet. It's The Bloody Crown. Because there's a story in here. The Hour of the Dragon is a full-length Conan novel. And it's magnificent. It is everything that you want in a Conan story, spread over a long narrative. It is Conan at its best. Robert E. Howard at his best. I don't know. Worms of the Earth might still be my favorite Robert E. Howard, which is Bran McMorn. But this, if not, this is the close second. Really, really enjoyed it. But the other two installments here, The People of the Black Circle and A Witch Shall Be Born, are both really good as well. But let's be honest, The Hour of the Dragon is what catapults this towards the top. And there were some other Conans that I read this year. Best of Robert E. Howard Volume 1, which was also excellent, which had a lot of variety of Robert E. Howard and limited itself to only 2 Conan stories. And had some of the best Bran McMorn in there. But number 1, and for me, it could be no other choice here for number 1. No, I'm not talking Tolkien. And I'm not counting rereads, because Three Musketeers, Lord of the Rings would have taken probably 1 and 2 on this list if I counted those in there. But there is one volume that I read an entire day. 400 and some pages. Unusual for me to do that. I've sang its praises a couple of times already. I'm going to sing its praises yet again. I cannot recommend this highly enough. And that is Northlanders by Brian Wood. This is a graphic novel. This is Volume 1, The Anglo-Saxon Saga. I still need to find Volumes 2 and 3. Volume 2, I don't know if I'll be able to get anytime soon. It's selling for ridiculous amounts of money because I'm assuming it's out of print. But Volume 3 is not. I don't think I'll have to read them in any order. But again, I just never think of it. I do have a little bit of money left over from Christmas that I could use. maybe I should use it to pick up Volume 3 so that we can have Northlanders next year as well. Here towards the top on things I read. But I just could not put this thing down. I mean, this is not a small volume, and I read it in a single day. A single evening. I just could not stop. It is that good. At least for me, who was a big fan of the Viking era, the Anglo-Saxons. And with it being the Anglo-Saxon saga, I mean, that's sweet spot right there. And just great pacing, great writing. For the most part, great artwork. And just absolutely a delight to read. So there you go. There's counting down my top 10 reads of this year. I'd love to know, what are your top 10 reads? If you've made a video, feel free to share a link down below so I can go check it out. Otherwise, feel free to leave a comment. Let me know. And if you can't think of 10, that's okay. Tell me your top 1 or 2. That's great. I would love to hear from you. Otherwise, I hope you have a great brand new year. And I will see you again in 2023.